Welcome back to the channel, guys. BJ the Brave here. We have got some spicy decks for you guys today. If you don't know, the Shadowverse Open preliminary kickoff tournaments have happened this weekend. And in this video, we're going to go through basically all of the winning decks and anything juicy that stands out. Sound good? All right. So if you don't know, actually, last weekend they ran the first kickoff preliminary. It didn't go very well, so they did like a makeup preliminary. So what we had is we had two tournaments, essentially. And in each tournament, they had 3 pools of something between 350 and 500 players in each pool. So a lot of tournament play happened, guys, in the last 24 to 30 hours. So let's jump in and take a look how things panned out. Now, because we've got several pools, if I don't cover everyone's deck, and it will be because it was quite similar to one I've already shown you, so you don't need to worry. As you can imagine, there was a lot of swordcraft, quite a bit of runecraft, quite a little bit of abyss, actually. So you will see duplications, but it's interesting to me looking at the kind of minutiae and how people went down different routes. So let's jump into it. All right, so here we go. This was the first pool 1 from the preliminary 1 replacement. And as you can see here, they played 10 games. 3 players managed to actually go 9-1, with Melodog coming out on top. Probably meant he won more. I don't know how the OW percentage is calculated. It says opponent's match win percentage, so maybe won more individual matches. I don't know, but yeah, overall, congratulations to Melodog, Nightmare, and W3X. So let's have a quick look and see what we got from this pool. Okay, so Melodog. Okay, so Melodog actually brought a runecraft deck. Let's jump in. Now Melodog actually went with I was going to call it like the fairly standard tier 1 rune deck. I would say this is pretty much it. You know, you got the 3 Williams, single Edelweiss. Some are running 2 of those. They've got the Penelopes in there. Yeah, it's pretty much the standard. It's not running the 1-drop draw a card. But other than that, I think this is like a pretty standard deck. What you are going to see, though, is definitely going to see some intriguing differences. Now, we also brought Swordcraft, and again, we don't know. Because of the format, you bring 2 decks, and you just basically play one. We don't know whether he played all Swordcraft or all Runecraft or a mixture of the 2. But this was his Swordcraft deck. So you can see he's actually gone for the single Grimnir. No Philodoos here. But what he has got is that in the late game, he's gone for 2 Olivias so that you don't run out of... See, that's what I'm noticing, is that some people go with Olivia so you don't run out of cards, and they go for hand quantity. Other people go for things like Genova and cards that basically help give you even more value, you know, that can clear the board without using Evos and stuff. Does top the deck off with a Urias. So it's a very mid-range deck, but obviously running the Grimnir, as I've said countless times before, it makes a lot of sense in Swordcraft because of Gildaria being, you know, such a powerhouse that in that you get 3 Super Evos. You may as well get the AoE 2 from Grimnir's Crest potentially 5 times in one game, whereas obviously other classes can only Super Evo twice in a game. All right, so let me also just want to shout out Absolute Zero, who came in 4th. The reason why I'm shouting at Absolute Zero is he actually won the Gengar's Gauntlet, which was the first big tournament that we had in Shadowverse Worlds Beyond. And so, you know, it's one thing to be, for a decent player to go on a good run in a tournament, but I think what this, to my mind, is the first time I've seen a player who has had high performance in multiple tournaments now. So shout out to Absolute Zero. He's definitely going to be the person to watch on the tournament circuit, it seems, from early on. Now then, in the next, what we're going to do is going to go look at Pool 2. So in Pool 2, we did actually have someone who went 10-0, and that was Sakana. And I really want to show you, congratulations to Sakana. I really want to show you the decks that Sakana obviously brought to the table. And Sakana brought also Sword and Rune, but a little bit different. His Sword deck did run 3 Quick Bladers, so really starting with that early curve. Also 3 Hounds of War, which again can help you in the early game, but can also be one of those kind of value cards on 6. A lot of people are dropping Hounds of War, but I actually feel like it's really good with Gildaria, right? Because the 3 extra bodies help feed the Gildaria engine, and obviously it doesn't cost you an Evo to do something with. Again, running a single copy of Urius and 3 Olivias for the draw. So yeah, a little bit more potential for kind of early game burst with the Quick Bladers and the Hounds of War. Not quite as greedy, but I think it's a really nicely balanced mid-range deck, that one. And then on top of that, he brought Rune. This was his Rune deck. Now, this deck is something that I noticed in quite a lot of the Rune decks. So something where players are going a little bit different is to drop the William down, so he runs a single William. I've seen some decks where they only they didn't run any Williams. But I kind of think this is interesting, where you only run a single William and then you bring in 2 copies of Flames of War. So essentially what you're doing is you're gaining an AoE option that you can play for 3 instead of for playing for 6. Obviously, you've got to build it up with the spell boost, but then again, you have to do that with William as well. So people are starting to bring in this tech with the Flames of Chaos now instead of the Williams for that cheaper curve. And I suppose that frees up your 6 slot to prioritize Norman, as well as being able to play in the late game, like a Norman plus an AoE or a Q1 plus an AoE, something like that. So yeah, this is quite interesting. Notice he doesn't run the Penelopes. He has obviously got the Melvies in there for some early game, and he's brought back the Foresights, which we didn't see in the previous deck. So the QR codes are here, guys, if you do want to copy the deck, obviously, and have a go at running these on ladder yourself. So yeah, great going. 10-0. Shout out to Sakana. Now, also in Pool 2, we had Jon Colby, and I wanted to show you this deck. I thought it was kind of interesting. He brought an Abyss mid-range deck, and did quite well with this. And I'm seeing like 2 or 3 different routes that people are going down with the mid-range decks. I saw one that had 3 copies of Ceres in. But this one is obviously running the Mukans as a kind of Evo target, along with Charon. And then in the late game, just running 2 copies of Jinsetsu, 2 copies of Medusa, but putting in the squeezing in the 2 Odins and the Olivias. One of the issues with this deck is how do you keep up with card priority? How do you do that? And so you end up running things like Soul Predation, or you need to run Olivias in the late game. So yeah, interesting Abyss deck there that we had. Well, that was Pool 2. Yeah, that was Pool 2, wasn't it? We didn't have any more from Pool 1. No. All right, cool. I tried to load up some of these decks beforehand, guys, so we could kind of show you. So in Pool 3. We also had a 10-0, which so shout out to Love Ai, 10-0, and then we had 3 players go to 9-0. Now I want to give a shout out to Freddy Babes. Freddy Babes, UK player. He was one of the best Gwent tournament players. Really creative, and he started streaming Runecraft Shadowverse Worlds Beyond. So go and check out Freddy Babes. Really nice guy. I actually did some coaching from him on Hearthstone back in the day. Sorry, not Hearthstone, on Gwent actually back in the day. So he's a long-time CCG player and he's really getting stuck into it and he's done really well. He ran Forest and Rune, so I'm going to show you his Forest deck. And also, of course, let's show you Love AI's deck. So let's jump into that. Okay, so Love AI, he brought Abyss and Rune. So the Abyss deck, the Rune deck, which was this again, it's got the Penelopes in. This looks like a slightly more traditional version. The noticeable things in this one are that he runs the extra removal in Divine Thunder, and he runs a single copy of Lilanthium, giving him an additional win con. It can be quite good in the mirror match, for example. Remember that Lilanthium, the biggest thing about this actually is the aura, because it just can't be banished by an Odin, for example. So it makes it a very, very, very strong, an annoying late game unit, particularly if you have built up quite a lot of your Earth sigils. So that was Love AI, again, who went 10-0. And he also brought Abyss. Again, I've got no idea what the balance was of play. But we can see with his Abyss deck, interestingly, he's gone a single Reaper's Deathlash. He's got the Divine Thunders in here. And actually, what I really want to test out from Love AI's version of this is the Seraphic Tidings. Because a lot of people complain about Soul Perdition because it's like you have to run it sometimes for the draw, but you have to kill your own unit. And it's like, why do you have to kill your own unit? And he's just obviously gone, well, why don't we just run Seraphic Tidings and get card draw like normal people? So, yeah, kind of not actually see. It seems like a really obvious tech, but I'm actually keen to try this because I really do think that card draw is one of the things that holds this deck back. The other thing that I really love about this version is that he's running three Ceres, and I actually lost a game to this deck where I was playing Combo Roach, and he played the Ceres and Super Evo'd it, and obviously just kept healing back, and I couldn't deal with it. So, do you know what? This is really... I think there's enough difference in here for you to warrant going out and testing this and trying it out on ladder. It does feel like it probably plays a little bit different. So yeah, good job on the 10-0 for Love AI. And also I said that I'd show you Freddy Babes' deck. His Rune deck, he actually did a video for that. That's actually on his YouTube channel, so you can go and check that one out. He runs pretty standard stuff, although he does run the dark side spells as well. But the thing about his Forest deck, which is really interesting, is he made some particular choices in here. So he actually decided not to run many ambush from aboves, and he talked about this in a video that he made on it. He said it's a brilliant S tier card, but it doesn't fit what you're trying to do with the Roach deck. Kind of interest. It's typical Freddy Babes. He always has like really interesting takes on cards, so definitely worth checking out his channel. What he has got is triple Gardener Lure, and I did watch some of his gameplay, and he really uses this card to good effect to make sure that he's managing his hand and drawing into. So if you think about it, you've got triple Godwood, triple Gardener Lure. You are going to draw into your combos whilst being able to manage your hand. And the other interesting thing about this version of the deck is that he runs triple Good Fairy of the Pond. And again, I've seen players dropping this card, but I actually think it's great that he runs this and he doesn't run Titania. So people are running Titania to get the guaranteed fairy every turn, but sometimes what I found is that just ends up meaning that you have problems with your hand management, and that you can't really go off with Godwood Staff and get the value from it. Plus, it costs 4 energy, so it's really difficult to combo. Whereas actually, just playing out Good Fairy on 1 gives you that tempo that you kind of need. And I think, yeah, I think this version's really, really interesting. I don't know whether 3 is completely optimal or whether 2 is correct, and then you run a second ambush, or you run 2 of these, and then you run, like an Olivia or a second Lamag. I don't know, but I feel like this version might be 1 to 2 cards off being like the perfect combo Roach right now. So yeah, shout out, well done, Freddy. Alrighty, let's get back to it. So we had Love AI coming in as the winner. So that is pools 1, 2, and 3 from the first kickoff preliminary. Now, in the second tournament that went off, we also had pools 1 to 3, and in pool 1 we had a player called Columbia who managed to go 10-0. We did, of course, get 2 other players. This is a player called Maxwell, and this player here in English, I think it says it means I want 100 packs. So I think I've got some some decks from each of these guys. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, so our Columbia, who went 10-0, went Swordcraft and Abyss. I want 100 packs, actually brought a Forest deck, so we'll take a quick look at those. So our Columbia, let's take a look. Here we go. So this is our Columbia's Sword deck, and what's interesting about this is a very greedy version, right? You're running double Grimner, so he really, really wants to get playing to the into that crest. But the other thing is, you know, sometimes Sword like wants a card like this on 3. Sometimes you end up using a Valse and it feels like a bit of a waste, and you only have 1 health and you get taken out back really easily. Whereas Grimnir is a bit more of a board building 3 drop in the early game, so it might just be good anyway. But obviously the more guaranteed crest when you've got 2 copies is going to happen. And what you'll see in the late game here is, you know, he's really got the value generators. Like if you're running 2 Genos, then you are trying to win you're trying to grind your opponent, because this guy clears the board, creates bodies for Gildaria, and actually doesn't cost you an Evo or a Super Evo point, right? Another way you can use him is to Super Evo, and then you actually get 2 pings to face if you go over the top of units. That's a little tip with Gino. But you can see this is a little bit more grindy. I think this is designed to be a little bit more late game and a little bit more grindy. What other deck did our Columbia bring? He brought Abyss. Abyss indeed. And this version, he's got the Philadoos. Kind of interesting because you can bring Philidoo back with Charon, and then you can Evo Philidoo to kill a unit and then attack, which is a really quite a nasty combo, really. What else? Oh, he's got a single copy of Undead Soldier in here. And yeah, late game's pretty standard. I suppose got all 3 copies of Olivia as well, so using that for the card draw and saying that's enough if I run 3 copies. I do think that's a big question when you run this deck. It's always like, how are you going to draw cards and keep up? Because they've kind of got card quality, but sometimes they just don't have the engine to, they just sort of run out of cards. So 3 Olivias, and that was good enough for our Columbia. 10-0, good job. Also, I want 100 packs, brought Forest. Let's see how this compares to Freddy Babes version that we looked at earlier. Kind of got some similar ideas going on. One of the things that I'm wondering is whether you even need a 7-drop. And this deck is kind of going all in, right? Where the only card that costs more than 5 is Bale. And obviously he doesn't, because he's gonna cost 0 when you play him. Because that's how Bale works. But what he's gone in on, he's got the extra garden and lures like Freddy had. He's actually got the good fairy of the pawns like Freddy had. So, but he has actually got more ambush from aboves. But I guess, you know, if you're not running the 7-drops, you can squeeze more in. So it's really be able to combo off a lot easier, this version of the deck, because everything's low cost. Yeah, this is really interesting. I honestly think like this and Freddy's deck are like there's some really interesting tweaks. They might seem like small techs, but actually they could fundamentally improve how you play Combo Rush. So I really wanted to share these 2 versions of the deck with you. Okay, so that was that pool. Let's have a look. That was pool kickoff prelim 2, pool 1. Now let's take a look at pool 2. So we got Mandu, Bushido, Timeline, TZZY, all, and sorry, Mentally Will. Now these guys all went 8-1, so we don't have like as clear a winner in this. We just have obviously 5 players who did very, very well. And what I found when I looked through the decks is that a lot of them were quite were similar to some of the decks that I've shown. So I'm not going to show you too many duplicates now. I'm just going to show you decks that stood out for me. Let's quickly look at pool 3 as well, and then I'll show you the decks. So again, in pool 3, you can see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that went 8-1. No clear individual winner, really. I know on Countback they ordered them, but again, what I found here is some pretty standard decks, very similar to the decks I've already shown you, whether they came from Rune or Sword or Abysscraft. But there were a few that I'm going to jump into that I feel are worth sharing with you for sure. So first of all, let's look at Mandu, who won Pool 2. Let's have a look at his Abyss deck. So he actually brought Aggro Abyss, right? So I think this is the first Aggro Abyss deck I've shown you. Now, I think the deck list itself is fairly similar to what I showed you on my meta report. By the way, if you've not watched my meta snapshot, definitely go and check that out on the channel. We do that every Saturday, 10 o'clock, and you'll see the most recent one released yesterday. So go and check that out. Also, if you're enjoying this, of course, like and subscribe to the channel for much, much more. But yeah, nice to see someone made it through with Aggro Abyss. Also, Bushido came second. He was in the same pool as Mandu. And he brought this sword deck. And I wanted to highlight this because I thought this was quite interesting. Why I think this is interesting, it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife version of sword, right? Because if you look, he's actually got a copy of Band of the Battle Princesses, which is really good AoE, really good at dealing with ambush units, really good at dealing with like the mirror match, for example. But it's quite a higher powered AoE because it does 4 damage, so it can actually deal with some slightly bigger units as well. But if you look at the end game, it's really interesting because he's kind of got the 2 Genos, which suggests like value, right? But then he's got 1 Centaur, Centurion, 1 Ravening Tentacles, but yet he's still got 1 Urius and 3 Amalia. So what I really loved about this deck design is that he can play it like a true mid-range deck. He can say like, what's the matchup? Do I need an aggro game plan? And he could actually mulligan and play for a more aggro game plan with Albert and Ravening Tentacles and Centaur Centurion and Odin, or he could play for a more grindy match if he wants to with his, you know, Genos and his Uriuses and Amalias. So kind of quite an interesting sword deck that. I really like it. And I also like that he's got the double Hounds and the double Geno in there to give him that option to still deal with the board for free without having to spend Evo points. 3 Luminous Mages as well, which is very rare these days. You usually only see 2. So he's got lots that are feeding the Gildaria. These Gildarias are going to be really strong in this deck, right? With Geno, 3 Luminous, and 2 Hounds of War. Really interesting. Really interesting. I want to try this deck, actually. I like the flex when you have flexibility in your game plan, and if you know, I'm presuming Bushido's a very skilled player, and so he's able to kind of recognize in the moment in the game, right? This is the line that we need to take the deck down. So really good deck building there, really interesting indeed. And who else did we have in Pool 2? We had Timeline, who brought a Haven deck, guys. We're cooking now, boys. We're cooking now. We are cooking now. Right. We got a Haven deck, guys, in one of the winners. This is really great. He has brought Wardhaven. It's a fairly, like, standard, fairly solid, you know, deck. Noticeable things for me. Doesn't run the Divine Shield Maiden at 3, so kind of happy with 2 Clerics and the 3 Grimniers. He does run a single Dark Haven Grace, even though he's not running the Griffin. Just shows just how good Haven Grace is, right? Making your warded units bigger, healing your warlord, your leader, sorry. But triple guard, triple dose of holiness. Like I've come to sort of realize that I think this card is needed in the ward decks. It's really powerful, really good in the early game, can clear any early game unit, and it helps to heal as well. What else is noticeable in here? Triple Odin, I suppose. You know, he's gone for the triple Aether, triple Will, but some players are cutting down on those. And a single Lapis as well. So not being scared off by the Odin meta and still running the Lapis to give him that late game grind option as well. I think it's a really good deck. I think this is a really, really solid deck. And if you want to play Wardhaven, you can't go wrong with this, really. All right, what else have we got? We have got Mentally Will. Mentally Will brought a sword deck. What was unique about this one? Oh, yeah. So this was very different again. Now, look at this. We've got triple Quickblader, double Royal Coachwoman, double Grimnir, and double Band of Battle Princess. Very, very different early curve. Now, usually when we play Coach Woman and we want things to stick, so it makes things like Zirconia better, you're going to have Grimnir on 3, so that's going to kind of make your board more difficult to remove in the early game. And if you look at the top end of the curve, there's nothing there, guys. He's really got triple Odin and triple Olivia. This feels to me like a really quick version. You're going to probably win games quick. You're going to try and beat your opponent down. And you're going to still feed your guild areas. You're going to draw into options because you're Amelia's and Odin. Just another really interesting take on Sword. And it just shows that even though the deck meta's a bit stale in terms of, oh, it's the same classes, you know, these, hopefully you've seen in these deck lists, there's still quite a lot of room for kind of different approaches to the game to edge out different, you know, just a couple more percentage on the wins, and that's what's really fun about these decks. Now, next up in round, the only other one that I think was interesting was in the third pool. Sorry to the guys who went in the second kickoff pool 3. I'll say sorry because I've covered all the decks. You've seen all the kind of like deck. Basically, they all had the same decks. But I did want to show you this Shy Gnome deck because I felt like this was one we haven't seen yet. And what this was a puppet deck. And you know, Shy Gnome did really well with this deck, obviously, as one of the top players. And I think it's really cool that we got a puppet player through. Also, Absolute Zero, who I gave a shout out to at the start, he also ran a puppet deck. I'll show you his deck after this. It's kind of interesting. But I think where Shy Gnome's got this right is actually playing the Apollos in there. Yeah, right, in that sword meta. Just I think this feels really solid with the double Apollos, triple Indomitable Fighter. Yeah, this is just a really solid deck. I feel like Puppet is a deck that you've got a 50-50 shot against anything, really, and it's just about grinding and kind of learning the matchups. I'll just quickly show you the alternative version that Zero brought, because there is one pretty spicy tech in here that you're going to love. Puppet Absolute Zero, here we go. Look at this, guys. Twin Blade Goblin, triple. Now, he hasn't got the Apollo, so kind of interesting, like, you know, it's another 1-drop you can get out early with the rush. I think it suits, that suits, it's a 1-drop you can play on 1, sorry. It suits the kind of puppet thing, but obviously when you're Super Evo, and it can do 4 damage for the combo as well. But I don't know if it's better than Apollo. I kind of like the Apollo tech, but just another interesting version of Puppet as well for you to see there. Alrighty, so that is it for the prelims, guys. I'm really excited to see the finals with all these winners coming together, and it's going to be cool. We'll be bringing you all the winning decks from that as well. Hit that thumbs up below if you enjoyed this, and thanks for all the support on the channel. We've just flown past 4K subscribers, which is awesome. We got the meta snapshot up if you want to go and see that, or I've got a ton of deck guys going into not just gameplay, but some depth around kind of how to play the decks as well. And also I'm starting to do some budget version decks too. Let me know in the comments if there's any other content that you want to particularly see. And if you enjoyed this one, check out this one next. All right, guys, take it easy.